In a quiet suburban neighborhood in Arizona, the sun was setting over rows of neat houses and manicured lawns. Life seemed peaceful, almost perfect, but behind closed doors, tension simmered. A young man, ambitious and eager to maintain harmony in his marriage, found himself at a moral crossroads. His elderly father, once the pillar of the family, had become a source of subtle friction with his wife. One evening, after a particularly tense argument over the father's presence in their home, the young man made a decision that would weigh heavily on his conscience. He asked his father to leave. The father, though heartbroken, nodded quietly and packed a few belongings. There was no anger in his eyes, only deep sadness and quiet resignation. He had devoted his life to raising his son and providing stability for the family, and now he was being asked to step aside. As he walked down the familiar driveway for the last time, memories of laughter, lessons, and sacrifices played in his mind. The son watched him leave, a strange mixture of relief and unease settling over him, unaware that the real lesson was only beginning. That night, the young man sat alone in the living room, the silence of the house pressing in around him. The shadows cast by the dim light seemed heavier than usual, as if the walls themselves were judging his actions. He tried to rationalize his choice, convincing himself that it was for the good of his marriage. Yet, every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father's quiet disappointment and felt the ache of a bond that had been broken in a single moment. Guilt began to creep in, small but insistent, refusing to be ignored. In his solitude, his mind wandered back to words he had read years ago from the teachings of Jesus. "Honor your father and mother," he whispered to himself, almost incredulously. How could he reconcile this commandment with the actions he had just taken? The message seemed simple, yet its weight now pressed on him with unbearable clarity. He realized that pleasing his wife or avoiding conflict could never replace the responsibility he owed to the man who had given him life, guidance, and unwavering support. Sleep came fitfully, haunted by dreams of his father standing alone at the edge of the driveway, looking back with a mixture of sorrow and love. Morning brought no relief. The sunlight streaming through the blinds felt harsh, illuminating the emptiness left behind. For the first time, he began to understand that true respect for family meant more than convenience or comfort. It meant making hard choices, accepting discomfort, and embracing the emotional labor that comes with love. His heart ached, but it ached with the knowledge that he could begin to make amends. By the end of the day, he resolved to act, not with words alone, but with genuine effort. The journey toward reconciliation would be long and uncertain, but it had begun. In the quiet of his Arizona home, the young man understood that honoring his father was not about blind obedience or obligation. It was about love, sacrifice, and recognition of the sacrifices made on his behalf. And in that realization, a small spark of hope ignited, promising that redemption, though difficult, was possible. 4 days after the troubling events at home, the man found himself driving through the vast red deserts of northern New Mexico. The sun burned low on the horizon, casting long, crimson shadows across the rugged landscape. The wind carried the scent of sagebrush and dust, and the road stretched endlessly ahead. As he rounded a bend, something caught his eye, a small, trembling figure huddled near the roadside. He slowed the truck and stared, heart tightening, as he realized it was a child, barefoot and wrapped in a torn, dirt-streaked blanket. Shivering in the evening chill. Without hesitation, he pulled over and jumped out. The child's eyes were wide, hollow, and fearful, reflecting the hardships of survival in the harsh desert. He knelt down, careful not to startle him, and spoke softly. "Greater than, you're safe now," he whispered, his voice steady yet gentle. Slowly, he lifted the boy into his arms, feeling the frailty of his tiny body. Dust and sweat clung to the child's skin, and hunger etched shadows beneath his eyes. Every instinct in the man told him that this act of compassion, small as it seemed, was a pivotal moment for both of them. Driving back towards Santa Fe, the man felt a mix of responsibility and hope. He thought of his own father, of the lessons in honor and love he had recently relearned. The boy's silence was broken only by occasional shivers and whispers, but the connection between them grew stronger with every mile. At the hospital, the medical staff quickly attended to the child, providing warmth, nourishment, and comfort. Word of the rescue began to spread quietly, then more widely, as neighbors and locals shared the story of the man who had stopped for a child in need. Within days, 3 Apache women appeared at his doorstep. Their presence carried both gratitude and quiet authority, their eyes observing the man with the wisdom of generations. They were not there merely to thank him. They sought to ensure the child would remain connected to his roots. Through conversations, stories, and shared meals, they guided him in understanding Apache traditions, values, and the importance of preserving cultural identity. The man listened intently, realizing that helping this child extended far beyond a single act of charity. It was about nurturing heritage, dignity, and belonging. As the days turned into weeks, the boy began to thrive under the combined care of the man and the women. His laughter returned slowly, a fragile but growing sound that brightened even the darkest corners of the man's heart. He observed the bond forming between the child and his cultural mentors, understanding that family and care are not limited by bloodlines. Each shared story and ritual revealed new lessons, and he came to see that the power of compassion ripples outward, touching lives in unexpected and profound ways. By the time the desert sun set on another golden horizon, the man had learned a truth far greater than he could have imagined. True honor, love, and compassion are not restricted to family or personal convenience. They are actions that extend into the world, shaping lives and healing wounds. The child, once lost and alone, now flourished, and the man, humbled and enlightened, knew that life's most meaningful lessons often arrive through acts of selflessness and courage. In saving another, he had, in turn, rediscovered his own capacity for love and honor.